Hey everyone! We see it every single day, but do we really know the story behind it? I'm talking about wood. Seriously. From these ancient, quiet forests to the most futuristic buildings, the journey of this one material is, well, it's way more incredible than you might think. So, let's dive in.
So let's just start with a big, kind of crazy question. What if the oldest material that humans have ever used is also the key to a sustainable future? It sounds like a total contradiction, right? Ancient and futuristic? Well, stick with me, because by the end of this, you might just be convinced it's true.
Over the next few minutes, we're going to follow wood through its entire life cycle. And it's this amazing story that ties together biology, high-tech engineering, and of course, sustainability. We're going to see how it's grown, how we use it, and what happens in its surprisingly active afterlife.
But first, what is wood, really? At its most basic level, it's a natural composite. And this is so cool. Think of it like nature's own carbon fiber. You've got these incredibly strong cellulose fibers that act like tiny reinforcing rods, and they're all held together by a natural glue called lignin. That simple combination is the secret sauce to its amazing strength.
So here's our game plan. We'll start inside the tree itself, then follow it from the forest to the factory. We'll see how we're engineering it to be even better, explore its surprising afterlife, and finally, look to the future we can actually grow. Let's get started. All right, Section 1, How a Tree Builds Wood. This is where it all begins, with this quiet biological miracle happening just underneath the bark of every tree.
You see, a tree's growth engine is this super thin layer called the cambium. Every single year, it adds a new layer of wood on the inside, which creates those annual rings we all know. But here's the really cool part. Each ring is actually two different kinds of wood. You've got the light-colored early wood from the fast growth in the spring, and then the dark, dense late wood from the summer, which gives the tree its real strength. It's like it's building with two different materials every year.
And of course, not all wood is created equal, right? You've got your softwoods, which come from conifers like pine trees. They have a simpler cell structure, which makes them great for things like the framing in your house or for making paper. Then you have the hardwoods, from leafy trees like oak and maple. They have a more complex, dense structure, and that's why we love them for beautiful, durable stuff like furniture and flooring.
Okay, Section 2, From Forest to Factory. So, we've seen how this incredible biological material is made. Now let's see how it gets transformed into the products we use every day.
Now this part is absolutely crucial. This whole process has to start responsibly. Sustainable forestry isn't just about cutting down some trees. It's a really complex science. It means careful planning, replanting way more than you take, and protecting the entire ecosystem. That's what those certifications like FSC or PEFC are for. They're basically your guarantee that the wood you're buying comes from a forest that's being managed the right way.
Once a log gets to a modern sawmill, it's a surprisingly high-tech operation. First, the bark gets stripped off. Then, computers scan the log and guide these incredibly precise saws to get the absolute most usable lumber with the least amount of waste. And finally, and this step is critical, the boards go into these huge ovens called kilns to be dried out.
And that drying process has to be unbelievably precise. Why? Well, a freshly cut tree is mostly water. If you want to make a stable piece of furniture that won't warp or crack in your house, you have to get its moisture content down to this tiny little window, just 6 to 8%. Any more or any less, and you're going to have problems down the road.
Section 3, Engineering a Better Wood. Now, solid lumber is fantastic, but this is where human ingenuity has really taken wood to a whole new level.
Welcome to the family of engineered wood. The magic here is that we can take wood apart into little strands or chips or super thin veneers and then glue it back together in ways that make it stronger and more reliable than the original log ever was. And we're not just talking about plywood. We're talking about massive products like glulam beams and cross-laminated timber, or CLT. These are the game changers that are letting architects build wooden skyscrapers. Yes, you heard that right, skyscrapers made of wood.
And here is the really powerful connection to our climate. As a tree grows, it literally breathes in carbon dioxide. When we then use that wood to build a building, we're locking that carbon away for decades, maybe even centuries. I mean, think about this. A typical timber-framed house stores around 20 tons of CO2. That's like taking 4 cars off the road for an entire year. So we're not just building homes, we're creating these huge carbon sinks right in the middle of our cities.
But wood's impact goes so far beyond just construction. I mean, it's the source of all our paper products, from books to cardboard boxes. It gives us key chemicals for all sorts of industries.
And of course, it has this deep cultural importance, giving us everything from violins and guitars to baseball bats and priceless works of art.
On to Section 4, Wood's Afterlife. So what happens when a wooden chair or an old building reaches the end of its use? Well, this is where the cycle gets really interesting.
Unlike so many other materials, wood rarely just ends up in a landfill. It has tons of other destinations. Those big, beautiful old beams from a demolished building can be reused. Other wood can be chipped up for mulch or animal bedding. It can be burned for clean energy, or it can become the raw material for new composite boards. The big takeaway here is that very, very little of it actually goes to waste.
And the future of recycling wood is even more mind-blowing. Scientists are figuring out how to turn wood waste into incredible new things. We're talking about biochar to enrich soil and lock away more carbon, cellulose nanofibers for making super strong, lightweight materials, and even using lignin to replace petroleum and plastics. We are literally learning how to turn old wood into advanced, futuristic materials. And that brings us to our final section, the future we can grow. It's time to bring this whole story full circle. So this is it. This is the central challenge that we all face. We've got this incredible, renewable, low-carbon material that can help us build a more sustainable world. But its source is our planet's vital forests. The question is, how do we strike that perfect balance between using this amazing resource and protecting the very ecosystems that give it to us?
Ultimately, it really all comes down to this one simple idea. The future of wood isn't a straight line that goes from a forest to a landfill. It can't be. It has to be a circle. A future built with this incredible material is only possible if that circle begins and also ends with a healthy, thriving forest. Thanks for joining me on this journey.